Day zero is and will be the water challenge of the next decade for South Africa. That's according to non-profit civil action organisation Outer's Water Can initiative. They say South Africa needs to better prepare for more day zeros and water shedding. Let's unpack this with Dr. Ferrell Adam from Outer's Water Can initiative. Dr. Adam, thank you so much for joining us. When we say day zero, we're not just meaning cities that have run out of water because of a drought. I mean, Nelson Mandela Bay is facing that, desperately trying to make alternative plans. But it's not just about drought, is it?
It's more than that. It also links to access and the quality of water. So if we look at South Africa, we know that a lot of people don't have access to clean drinking water, whether or not they can afford it or, other reasons for that lack of water. So it's more than that. It's literally drought due to, and we're going to have more of that with climate change. And it's also about supply and it's infrastructure.
And it was interesting to see the point made about eThekwini. They don't have a problem with a lack of water. Their dams are full, but the infrastructure destroyed by an incredibly heavy flood, partly exacerbated, we understand, due to the extremities of climate change,
Yes.
has destroyed their infrastructure.
Absolutely.
You say that there are going to be other cities and towns and areas facing day zero. Which are the other areas around the country that you are most concerned about from a day zero perspective?
So if I look at it in a climate perspective, right? Now climate modeling would tell us that the Western Cape and the Eastern Cape and the Northern Cape are going to get drier. They're going to be hit with much harsher droughts, and more frequently we're going to have those droughts. So there's going to be a climate impact, but I think if we look at some of the green drop and the blue drop reports that government released recently, our state of our waters in a mess, actually. So it could even, in terms of day zero, it's also going to impact on quality and whether or not you can drink that water.
Yeah, and you're asking government to compile a no-drop report. So what sort of cities and towns would you look at there? Because there's a difference, I would argue, between an area that has not yet received any water reticulation, which is wrong, and it should have happened by now.
Yes.
There's a difference between that situation and, say, a metro that has had the water pipes, that has had the infrastructure, and we're seeing a massive deterioration.
But that's exactly why we're asking for it, because there's the estimated numbers is that 20 million people in South Africa don't have access to water. Now, we don't know if that is a reality. We need the studies. We need those kind of assessments to be done. And if it is that high, then it's very concerning that so many people actually do not have clean water on a regular basis, and they're relying on dirty water or no water at all.
And interestingly, we've even seen that happen in Nelson Mandela Bay. They had to boil their water and add bleach a few months ago.
Right.
They're now facing down day zero. They are hopeful that they can move water around from one dam to another and sort of pipe it in that way. But it really is touch and go. We do know the drought has been extreme. How much would you lay at the door of just a really shockingly bad drought? And how much would you say is bad planning?
Oh, I think a lot of it is bad planning. I think that we were not, as a country and government particularly, were not proactive on this. And it's not like the drought happened yesterday and now we're dealing with it today. It's been an ongoing issue since 2017. There have been people that have been saying this drought is really bad. You had Cape Town, when Cape Town had day zero, Nelson Mandela Bay was also being warned about water then. You also have Makanda. They cannot drink the water in their taps because it's so high, such high levels of E. coli. So, these kind of things, they are, along the way, there are signs, and we're carrying on each time as it's a surprise.
Yeah, no, you're right.
But there's no proactive action from government.
We've also seen the Auditor General's report, which has highlighted just what a mess municipalities in. Yeah. And you do make the point that maybe national government needs to step in. Do you think a centralised approach to water management is what is required?
I think that you have to have the combination. In fact, what we're saying is we want more people on the ground to be monitoring water. So we want to build a citizen science network. So communities and people actually start having a say in their own water. And that's at a ground level. So it's the decentralized level. But I do think that our National Department of Water and Sanitation has had not a very easy ride, and it's been in a mess, I think, for a long time. I think the new minister, he's appointed people in positions. You've got a DG. So there are changes, but I still think that they're not doing enough to hold municipalities accountable. You've got failing municipalities, and the only way that we are going to have, we think, that we're going to change this is by holding municipal managers accountable. If a CEO of a company pollutes a river, they will be arrested. Why should municipal managers get away with it?
It's interesting as well, if we talk about, a little earlier we had some reports from eThekwini, and obviously people are unhappy about the water rationing. They're saying that these problems predate the flood. But nonetheless, even in other areas, people are very angry with the municipality. They feel failed by them. And the gap between what the mayors and the deputy mayors are saying and what the community is saying and feeling is very wide. Whereas a lot of people are attributing the success of Cape Townians using less water as asked to is because of a good communication plan. How do you think we get disgruntled, justifiably unhappy people on board when government says we need to save water?
Because one of the problems, if we look at Nelson Mandela Bay particularly, is the closed doors. I think if you open and transparent and explain to people what your actions are for the next 5 months or whatever, I think people would understand. Also, have we forgotten how to really be a democratic country in terms of consulting people? Have these processes that allows people to contribute. You actually find that some of the solutions don't have to be the most expensive. They could be on-the-ground solutions that work really well with the networks of people. If we look at COVID, it was the community action networks that got food and water to people.
Talk to me about why OUTA, your organisation, has developed Water Can, which is where you come in, and what exactly you're going to do to make a difference.
So it's it's the state of the water that we're in, state of our water resources. We're very concerned about the quality of the water, the quantity of water. We know that we have climate change impacts, but we also have a failing local government. And for all of those reasons, you can't live without water. And if we don't do something now, 10 years or 5 years from now, it's going to be too late. So that's our kind of starting point. But we're saying also that we also give solutions as an organization. And we're saying, let's start monitoring the water. So we'll be able to develop this heat map, which is what we're doing, to give us a picture of where are the good spots, where are the bad spots, and then to allow government to focus on those bad spots. So be proactive. So that's where we're coming in. But we also think that having citizen scientists on the ground, ordinary people doing the testing, could democratize water, could get people talking about water and talking about access to water. That's what we want to do.
It sounds encouraging. And of course, we grumble about not having power, but try living without running water. That really is very, very difficult and also very, very dangerous. Thank you so much for coming into studio this evening. That's Dr. Ferrell Adam, OUTA's Water Can. She's from OUTA's Water Can initiative.